Hello, my name is Dr. Anna Maria Mihalta. I am an internal medicine physician and I have an integrative medical practice, and I specialize in age reversal anti-aging consultations. Over the last couple of years, I have treated a lot of COVID patients and I have successfully reversed long COVID. And today's video is about the documentation of accelerated brain aging after having had COVID, and then the documentation of its complete reversal via a technology called the WAVI brain EEG. My background experience is not just with my patients, but I myself had long COVID and was neurologically affected. And in the journey of figuring out what is it that is causing the symptoms that certainly have been quite severe and debilitating. In my practice, for example, I have seen 30-year-olds who had dementia-like symptoms and were unable to remember where to drive or the names of their friends. They were so fatigued that they couldn't keep their head up. And chores like washing dishes was an almost impossible task. So when I saw that, I realized that this COVID and long COVID clearly induces mitochondrial dysfunction, which has been now proven that it is so, and that the anti-aging modalities that I had been using to help people reverse their diseases, it dawned on me that it would be absolutely applicable in this case as well. In biology, it is known that the aging process is mediated through inflammation, through aging of stem cells, through mitochondrial dysfunction, and there are multiple other biological pathways. For example, the mTOR gene that has been shown to be a mediator of either accelerated aging and affecting it can downregulate the aging process. So what I want to show you, and for this I am going to share my screen. These are a couple articles, and the reason why I want to share this is that there's a lot of discussions around what is actually shedding from vaccines, what are people affected by, is there a virus or isn't there a virus? And in my experience, it's very important to keep an open mind, because in studying in depth the vaccines, having seen self-assembling nanostructures that are growing in these vials, be that Pfizer, Moderna, also hearing from other colleagues who evaluated the vials, and some found RNA, some found DNA, some found proteins, some found nothing else but graphene oxide. And then understanding the shedding phenomenon, in which the vaccinated may be shedding and transmitting something to the unvaccinated that is inducing disease, that can be multifactorial. And the most recent revelations that, for example, have been seen and reported on by Dr. Jane Ruby, who interviewed Dr. Philippe Weldenberger in Italy, who showed that graphene oxide is clearly being shed from the vaccinated to the unvaccinated. I myself have done a video with Shimon Yanovitz, who also investigated the vials of Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and AstraZeneca, incubated them over a period of time and proved that there are self-assembling nanostructures in there. And then he looked at his own blood. He himself is unvaccinated, but has profound issues with long COVID symptoms, and found that these nanostructures were present. So in reevaluating the approach, it's important to be open-minded and to utilize many different modalities that can address these potential mechanisms. So I wanted to show that clearly in regards to the mitochondrial dysfunction, this has been shown to be clearly present. Graphene oxide itself has been shown to act as a neurotoxin, so this is not excluded as an etiology here. We see here again, graphene oxide induces neurotoxicity and affects neurotransmitters, neurons, and locomotive, some motion behaviors in different animal models. Here's another article on mitochondrial dysfunction, which has been shown to be a causative agent in the microglia in the brain that are affected by spike protein. Here's another article that looks at mitochondrial dynamics in specific microglia. These are brain cells, and again, it's discussing that the dysfunction in the microglia is clearly having an impact on the neurological symptoms that people are having with long COVID. This right here is the cap of the Wavi Brain technology that I have in my office. This is an FDA-approved screening tool for brain dysfunction. My background as a geriatrician has piqued a keen interest in brain health and preventative brain health. And so I get the testing done as baseline health assessment when people come in. In the last couple of years, people have come in with symptoms of what they call brain fog. I think that is a severe misnomer because the brain fog symptoms do suggest substantial neurological dysfunction that need to be addressed. My own experience has shown that many physicians in the healthcare systems do not understand how this works. For example, many are ordering MRI tests. Oftentimes you can't see anything on these MRIs. So this is a more functional testing, and it allows a ability to follow patients over time and clearly see how they are impaired. One of the things to consider is, for example, in medical practice, there are tests like the mini mental status exam or the MOCA exam. Those are neurological screening tests to look for neurological dysfunction. But let's say someone at baseline is testing extremely high and they have excellent intellectual qualities and brain qualities, and they have gone down, but the test itself doesn't start picking up dysfunction until at a way lower level. Then the tests do not have the sensitivity to actually report and record problems with neurological function that these people may very well have. So what I am going to show you here is a baseline test from 2019 of a Wavi brain EEG. So this is a 45-year-old person, and we see here the physical reaction time is much faster compared to the age cohort that this is compared to. Trail making test A and trail making test B are tests that look at cognitive function. How well is the brain able to put together complex information out of different brain regions and utilize this? And you see that one test was very well within average. The second test, which is more complex, was a bit slow. The audio P300 is a clinical marker for cognitive function, processing speed, and you see here that this was much faster than the average, and that the electrical voltage was very high in this test. So if you think about your brain sort of like a computer and or a cell phone, and the more electricity you have in that cell phone for transmission, the clearer the signal is, and the better the communication. However, if you go into an area and you just have half a bar out of 5 bar of receptions, then the information doesn't come across as well. So this is a very simplified example with the brain for when people just feel like they're not quite as sharp, or can't remember certain words. They go into a room and they can't remember why they're there. And sometimes this can happen to younger people, and this is abnormal. And we need to evaluate this, because we do not want cognitive dysfunction to progress. So in this Boone report, which is a modality to calculate a baseline number, you would say that this brain is right now functioning at 20 years young. So even though this is a 45-year-old person, they are functioning excellently in terms of their brain. And then you see here, these numbers are, is there any attention deficit disorder that's interfering with brain function? No, there isn't. Could there be any anxiety or depression interfering with the brain function? So sometimes when people get stressed, there is a lot of noise in the system, and so this says that potentially there could be something like this if this person gets more stressed, that they would have an interference signal. This looks at the hemispheres. So the left hemisphere is the intellectual side. The midbrain processing is here, and then the right side is the creative side. And you can see that, comparatively speaking, these are very good electrical voltage areas. And this is really an ideal brain picture. So you see that that person is squarely sitting in the midbrain, and there's overall some low electricity in certain areas, but the functionality of processing information is very good. So now there is a follow-up scan. This is December 2021. And this was about a month and a half after severe respiratory failure from COVID. And so you can see now, this is the same person, that the physical reaction time definitely has slowed down. So the previous test was showed that it was out of range good. Now it's just sort of average. The cognitive testing has clearly slowed down. Even the first test now is out of range slow, and the second test extremely slow. So there is definitely a worsening here in cognitive function. We see that the P300 is still quite good out of range, but that the average voltage has decreased substantially, So the previous testing here had an average voltage of 19.6 microvolts, and we see a reduction of almost half. That can be a sign for neuroinflammation. So inflammation and electricity are inversely proportional. The higher the inflammation, the lower the electrical capacity and the lower the mitochondrial capacity for output of energy. So mitochondrial dysfunction can certainly cause inflammation. So now you see that it's just, a couple of years later, COVID hit. Now there's long COVID symptoms with severe neurological dysfunction, inability to speak well, to remember words, to read or write, to have adequate ability to connect with memory. So this shows a brain aging of 27 years functionally due to long COVID symptoms or post-acute COVID symptoms. We see there's no attention deficit, not real anxiety or depression interference in the EEG signal. This is very important because a lot of people with long COVID with neurological symptoms, they are labeled depressed. They have anxiety symptoms, but this is from neurotransmitter dysfunction. Oftentimes, when I test them in the office, they have profound lack of nitric oxide that can be tested via saliva test. There's other inflammatory processes that are going on that look or present as psychiatric problems, but it's all neuroinflammation. And so you see that this is a completely differently looking brain, and that the voltage here on the left side midbrain looks still fine, but severely depressed on the right side. If we look at this brain at more of a brain map, you can see that there are severe regional abnormalities in voltage. So for example, this is the parietal lobe. This is also where speech is housed, and you see that the voltage is 1.3 microvolts. So normal for someone like this would start somewhere at 8 up to 19 microvolts. So extremely low voltage. So for someone with these kinds of findings, it will be difficult to speak, to find words, to remember, certain abilities to communicate, etc. So then, we get here into the hippocampal area. This is where seat of memories. It's not too bad. But still, these temporal areas, you see that there's pretty significant neuroinflammation. Sometimes vision can be impaired in COVID. And so what we see is this is the occipital lobe, or the back of the brain, and this is where the vision is being processed. So this is the optic nerve. The optic nerve information is being processed back here, and you see that there is a side difference clearly. So there can be vision changes as well. Whether or not this is from microclotting, this particular person didn't have an elevated D-dimer, but in regards to other people may have microclotting, but clearly we're talking about neuroinflammation. So then we look at a follow-up scan after intensive treatment, and this is so intravenous therapies with high-dose vitamin C, with peptides that are neuroregenerative. So for example, epithalon lengthens telomeres. It's a pineal gland peptide. It reverses aging in all cells. It repairs DNA. Has a lot of antioxidant properties. It resets the production of melatonin in the brain, which is also a very strong antioxidant in the body. So other peptides, like GHK copper in particular, is a very strong anti-inflammatory. It is a peptide that resets 30% of the human genes back to health, but specifically in neurological cells like microglia, like neurons, dendrites, it increases gene transcription between 300 and 500%. And so it can be used for regeneration of Alzheimer type symptoms, of Parkinson's type symptoms. And so this was used. Methylene blue has been used both intravenously and orally on a daily basis. Methylene blue bypasses mitochondrial dysfunction, regardless of what it's caused by, whether or not toxicity through graphene oxide or from the spike protein. So methylene blue has been shown, for example, in hypoxic state in animal models, to protect the brain. So, for example, in mice models, they induced cardiac arrest with no blood flow to the brain. They'd given these animals methylene blue and then resuscitated the mice, and the brain was completely protected from damage compared to animals that didn't get the methylene blue, didn't have that protection. So the oxygen delivery to the cells, which is always impaired in inflammation. When you have inflammation, you have acidosis and an acidic environment that is low on oxygen. When you're alkalinizing as well as oxygenating the tissues, that balance is improved. And this is very, very minute in its variation. So I know of people that they want to alkalinize their blood, and they drink baking soda almost. This is not how you do it, and you have to be very careful because either way, acidosis or alkalosis can cause health abnormalities. So you want to be cautious and know what you're doing there. So in this case, methylene blue it increases the oxygenation between 37 up to 70% intracellularly. There are other things that can improve the electrical conductivity of the cell. So you can look at a cell from the perspective of just biological tissue, but also our body is an electrical circuitry, and it's very advanced in terms of how it works electrically. All antioxidants are electron donors. So giving the body high electron donors, for example, like high dose vitamin C in an aqueous solution creates an electrical current. You can regenerate tissues with that and downregulate inflammation. In terms of antioxidants like boswellia, like curcumin, like Nigella sativa, which is black cumin seed oil. These are anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, and they all have antiviral, antibacterial properties because viruses or toxins or bacteria live in environments that are oxygen depleted and are high inflammatory. So the mechanisms of enhancing the immune system and basically age reversing the immune system are similar in this case in regards to how this works and operates. And of course, the baseline nutritional deficiencies need to be addressed, and everything has to be given to the cells at once, meaning every biochemical step that, for example, is utilized to make NAD to NADH and then ADP to ATP, which is the energy molecule. You want to give all of these substrates in the highest biological form. For example, your B vitamins need to be in a methylated form, because if you have what's called an MTHFR gene mutation and you cannot utilize them, you're missing certain steps that would help you produce energy in the body. Again, things like replenishing nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is a neurotransmitter in the brain. The lack of it causes anxiety and depression, but also it is very important for vascular endothelial cell health, meaning the tiny blood vessels that are giving the blood perfusion and your organs, including your brain, do need nitric oxide. We know of a lot of people who have had long COVID, for example, or have been exposed to shedding. They have blood pressure abnormalities. Oftentimes, those can be normalized by giving nitric oxide. So after several months, all symptoms of long COVID, neurological symptoms have been reversed, and then a follow-up scan was done on July 27th. So if you see here, the physical reaction time, very fast, and faster than average now. The trail making test that ended up on a different format you see here, faster than average. Excellent trail making test B, which is all about regaining cognitive function. The previous test showed 185 seconds. You see that the processing speed of the brain has substantially increased through these modalities. The P300 audio delay number is very good. And then the voltage went way up. So the average voltage was 10 microvolts during long COVID, with many areas of the brain being way low at like 2.3 microvolts. And now we have an average P300 voltage of 18.0 at the highest end of normal. So the functional brain age was reversed back from 47 years old to 22 years young. And obviously, you can see that it's possible to reverse overall brain capacity substantial. This is a 48-year-old person, and their brain capacity and processing speed is 26 years younger than their stated age. There's no problems with attention deficit disorder. There's absolutely no problem with interference from anxiety or depression. We have good voltage in the midbrain. The left intellectual side appears to have low voltage, but the processing speed overall in the brain scan looks good. We have good right side brain activity. And then in the brain map, we see here these areas previously had voltages of like 2.1. We're now at 9.3, so much higher. It goes up substantially here in the midbrain. The hippocampal area also went up. So in the hippocampus is where neurogenesis happens. And new connections, new learning, new thought, and processing speed went up substantially. Vision, much improved. If you see here, there's no longer a deficit in one eye processing. These are both eyes process adequately in the visual cortex. So this is a substantial improvement. And improvement in reversing neuroinflammation that has caused accelerated brain aging. So in summary, in this, I have shown you how it is possible to do a functional brain assessment that clearly shows that in long COVID brain fog that there are abnormalities that many healthcare practitioners who do not rely on such technologies cannot find. So this is, to me, why it's important to get, for example, baseline WAVI cognitive function tests, and then see where people are at over time, because it allows to see a decline. And clearly with modalities like peptides, IV therapy, we can reverse brain age. This is what I do all the time in my office, and it works because our cellular structures are extremely malleable. If you repair them, then there is excellent response rate. So in regards to these IV therapies, one thing that I rely heavily upon is EDTA chelation therapy, and I've used that in particular in this case as well a lot. And the reason is that the heavy metals that we're exposed to, be that lead, cadmium, arsenic, etc., that can all interfere with mitochondrial function and therefore cause accelerated aging. When you pull those out of the body, you're able to regenerate the brain significantly. EDTA chelation has also been shown to bind to graphene oxide, and so it can detoxify the body from that. So I have had patients who have for example, had elevated D dimer as a marker of vaccine shedding, whether or not that is spike protein or whether or not that is actually a nanoparticle structure. And then clinically, we've reversed that by showing that the abnormal D dimer went back to normal. So in high dose vitamin C infusions, anywhere from 20,000 milligrams upwards, you can neutralize the spike protein. There have been other colleagues like Dr. Thomas Levin who showed that vitamin C, he also used ozone, clearly can reverse the rouleau formation in vaccinated people with vaccine injury. And it only he was able to show it within 15 minutes. So clearly, these are mechanisms that prove that these IV therapies, the chelation therapy, are detoxifying the body and allowing it to repair again. I think that the peptides are crucial for this. I think that the methylene blue is crucial for this. And to me, in my personal experience, the ability to utilize non-pharmacological means is important. So I still absolutely advocate for ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. When people have long COVID, I recommend the ivermectin at least twice a week, and then hydroxychloroquine one tablet 3 times a week. I advocate a cocktail of supplements, anywhere from hesperidin, diosmin. I do recommend anticoagulants like Plasmanex or nattokinase. If there's an elevated D-dimer, certainly aspirin therapy is indicated. We want to prevent any type of microclotting. And then a number of antioxidant supplements that do have broad activity. So activity against SARS-CoV-2, spike protein, if that is what is still within the body, activity for antioxidant purposes. So then again, we have things like bicalane from the plant Scutellaria has excellent anti-inflammatory properties and excellent neuroregenerative properties. We have things like the extract out of black cumin seed oil is thymoquinone, because black cumin seed oil, you have to use quite a high dose to have similar effects like ivermectin in blocking the ACE2 receptor docking site for spike protein. So thymoquinone can be used in much lower dosages. We have other polyphenols like luteolin is excellent for neurocognitive age reversal that is particularly affecting people with brain fog in long COVID, or I call it cognitive dysfunction. So we have a large array of supplements and natural means that are able to regenerate the body on profound mechanisms like mitochondrial dysfunction, and are able to bypass that and to help regenerate the mitochondria and ultimately age reverse people. I hope this was informative. I think it's important to show actual data rather than just make certain recommendations. And I wanted to share this. I have other ways of testing, for example, with the autonomic nervous system test, and can show some very interesting findings with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome and how to reverse that. It's the same principal mechanism, and people respond very well, sometimes within one IV with high dose vitamin C and utilizing peptides like epithalon, using alpha-lipoic acid, glutathione. People know about these. In terms of supplements, of course, NAC is very important, zinc, quercetin. So those are the baselines, but you build upon them to help the body regenerate itself. And it's absolutely possible. I wanted to encourage people to know that the neural COVID and the long COVID symptoms can be devastating. I've experienced them myself. I've reversed them in me, and I think that having seen so many people who are just debilitated, I wanted to provide the hope for people that to let them know it is absolutely possible to reverse this and to get back to a normal function, actually extraordinary function. Um, so hopefully this was helpful. I will link some information below. You can also find me on my Substack, Dr. Anna's newsletter. And thanks so much for watching.